Hello again, you sick, twisted weather freaks, and welcome to another fun-filled, action-packed, and intellectually stimulating edition of This Week in Weather. I'm your host and meteorologist, DT from WeatherRisk, the Colonel of Confusion, the Captain of Catastrophe, the Commander of Chaos. Let's talk about this week in weather. And a couple things to talk about here, so it won't be as long a presentation as the ones we have in the winter, but with still lots to talk about. We'll start out first by taking a look at our radar, and this here is our, we're going to use the Barron radar here for Barron Weather Services. It's free, you can find it on the internet. I posted it over on the Facebook page, and you can see it's a very nice resolution on this. One of the things I like about it, you can zoom in very quickly, and the radar adjusts very quickly into the high resolution, so you can see local roads and towns, and even individual streets. I mean, look, as you zoom into here, go to chat and look at this. Very, very quickly adjusts. So I really like that a lot. So a lot of these radars, it takes a while to readjust or what have you, but it doesn't here. So you've got these big bands of storms. Two of them stand clusters bands here in southeast Tennessee. Another one up northwest of Nashville by Clarksville and Jackson, Tennessee. Then there's a gap, and then we have some more activity here in eastern North Carolina, east of Richmond, into northern Neck, Middle Peninsula a little bit, and then another one south of D.C. by Fredericksburg and by Stafford to the east of Charlottesville. So that activity is going to continue, and really what we're looking at here is a front which is coming south, and you can see the front very nicely here. This is coming through overnight. Now Thursday afternoon, the front consolidates. Still some energy back over the Kentucky, Ohio Valley area west of the mountains, but the real front is setting up along the Carolinas and southeast Virginia. So it consolidates Thursday night. Still a lot of the main storm activity: New York State, northern New England, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, western North Carolina, southwest Virginia, Ohio, Kentucky, southeast Indiana. Notice there's not a lot going on in central Maryland or Delaware or Virginia or North Carolina, not the central portions. Now, as we go into Friday morning, we get a lot of storms here consolidating. The front pulls into the Atlantic, it stalls there, and then this is a Friday afternoon, Friday evening. The front just lingers over the area. As you can see, there are gaps in the coverage. So it's not looking at a washout on Friday. I mean, there's a lot of showers and storms, but not a washout. And then Saturday, as we go into Saturday, the front finally clears the coast. You can see that very nicely, clears the coast. And the high pressure builds in the Bermuda High, and it stays that way all the way through next week. Now, the temperatures do get hot. Nothing extreme, but with the development of the Bermuda High, we will see temperatures take off to the mid 90s. You can see it here by Sunday. This is a Sunday afternoon. We're near 90 degrees in much of the mid-Atlantic and the Ohio Valley, upper 80s in New England. And then we go into, let's say, this is Monday afternoon, Monday evening. You can see low 90s in much of the mid-Atlantic, up towards New York City, northern New Jersey. And so it's seasonally warm. It's not extreme. Obviously, they got a lot more cloud cover and rain here in the Midwest, with that flow coming up from the Gulf of Mexico, so they're not going to be nearly as hot. And then by the time we get to June 18th, the heat is still in the mid-Atlantic, but notice it's much, much cooler west of the Appalachian Mountains after June 15th in the Ohio Valley. Temperatures are in the 70s and low 80s, so it's a little different here. And eventually we get a break in the heat comes up later on after June 15th. Now, what happens is, let's take a look at the pattern. Now, this is the European ensemble. And you can see that the trough pushes through. There's our trough with the cold front. Lingers off the east coast, then goes away. Now look at the Bermuda High, this big bridge building in here on the Western Atlantic Ocean. Out from Bermuda all the way to, Ohio and eastern Tennessee and Kentucky and down to Georgia. And you can see the dark red area. That's the strongest anomaly over the New England and the Great Lakes region. So that's a very nice, strong ridge which forms there. It even becomes a dome on Tuesday, June 8th. So that looks like it'll be the hottest day next week, June 8th, 9th, maybe the 10th. Some of the models are showing temperatures of mid 90s in the mid-Atlantic. So it's possible we could be hotter than what the data is showing. So that's possible. But that's because we have the heat dome. You can actually see at the top of the mountain, the dome, over Virginia and North Carolina, West Virginia, eastern Kentucky, eastern Tennessee, and northeast Georgia. Now, at this point, let's look at the map. Okay, you see this big green area off the California coast? That's our negative anomaly. There's a trough. And there's another one over Greenland with a positive NAO. So what happens is that trough over Greenland becomes very big. Look how big it becomes. And forces the jet stream to drop south across New England. So the ridge gets pushed westward. This is June 10th. It's now north of the Great Lakes. And now by the time we get to June 12th or 13th, the ridge is back over the Rockies. And we have a trough here over the eastern Canada and New England, driving a cold front southward. But the front may stall. Waves low pressure across the Ohio Valley into the mid-Atlantic here, and the other trough is off the California coast, the North American coast, and the Eastern Pacific. Now, this is an interesting pattern because this has some potential for some severe weather. Indeed, if you go back to the actual surface maps here, let me change this here. Go right there. Look what happens when we go into the day 10. You see, we get this very nice disturbance which dives out of the jet stream through the Ohio Valley into the Middle Atlantic region, and Maryland and West Virginia, North Carolina, Eastern Kentucky, we're all in the ideal sector for this sort of low pressure system with nice heat and mid-level support, pretty good jet structure here. Of course, this is a long way out for this to be a potentially significant severe weather event for somebody, maybe Pennsylvania, maybe Ohio, maybe Virginia, West Virginia, I don't know, Maryland, but it's got to be watched. That one has some potential. And of course, like I said, the upper air pattern with this thing coming down just like this, you can see the very nice jet dropping southward here, setting up that system. Now the ridge is now, by the time we get to June 14th to 15th, the ridge is over the Rockies. A lot of heat there in the plain states, but not east of the Mississippi River. That trough is pretty strong, so that keeps the temperatures much cooler. And it stays that way right through after June 15th or 20th. Now, the GFS is the same sort of thing, but the GFS is a little slower in moving the ridge. And you can see that by June 15th, it's got a nice ridge here from Arizona to Missouri to Tennessee. So it's a little warmer in the Mississippi Valley than the European. And it takes longer to go to the Rockies, but eventually the ridge does slide back further to the west. And the trough over New England is not quite as strong as it is on the European. So there is that. So I did want to point that out to you. I think that's kind of significant here. And now I wanted to also take a look at some activity going on in the tropics, because this here is the operational GFS. And the GFS is not showing much of anything. June 15th, a little bit of disturbance in the Caribbean crosses, then to Florida, Bahamas, not a big deal. But the ensemble is significantly different. And let me show that to you. I'm going to change the scope here a little bit. We'll go here and we'll change this to, there you go, different members. Now look at what's going on here. This is June 14th to 15th. We're getting a strong signal here of a lot of low pressure in the Northwest Caribbean and southern Gulf of Mexico, maybe the Bay of Campeche, sometime around the 15th to 16th. And one of the reasons that there's support for that is showing up here. Let me call it, not that. We'll call up, let me see if I can find it. There we go. Now this here is the control for the EPS, the control run of the European Ensemble 200 millibar potential velocity potential anomalies, the VPAs. And the green represents rising motion. So when the green is over you, you get in the tropics, you get enhanced tropical activity. Tropical waves have a better chance of becoming tropical storms and potentially hurricanes. So we look at the time frame. Here's June 15th on the left, and we have this green stuff. Look where it is over 60 in the Caribbean and the Western Atlantic Ocean. All right, from June 10th all the way through, let's say June 20th, there's a spike there. And the other one is, let me call it up again. Nope, that's not it. And then the other one is showing the same sort of thing. Here we go. And you can see, here's the control run. Let me see if I have the other run up here. I think here it is. Now this is the ensemble mean. Now the ensemble mean is showing the same idea. These are all 50 runs of the European Ensemble. Again, look at the date on the left, June 10th, June 15th, June 20th, at around 60 degrees west longitude, which is the beginning of the Caribbean, and then it goes out towards the tropical Atlantic. So there is some kind of energy there, which may be why the models are focusing on this thing somewhere in the Caribbean, of the Northwest Caribbean, of the Gulf of Mexico, around the middle of the month. Nothing, not certain yet, but definitely a real possibility. So that's something that has to be kept in mind. Anyway, that's the presentation. I hope you like it. I hope you come on by and take a look at the website, and I'll see you over on the Facebook page and on the Twitter page.